Hey guys, welcome to the Stream Space, or welcome back if you've been here before. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not much of a reactions person, but I got two videos teed up for you guys because I had something to say on both of them, and I actually wrote responses, and even one of them I filmed a video for. But I feel like it's gonna be a little more impactful when I take the video that was originally used, right? Now, to be clear, I have nothing against either of these creators. I really don't. These specific videos bothered me. So, I'm very much I'm a play it all kind of guy. I have all the main systems. I've got a PC. I have a lot of different consoles, and I'm definitely open to playing more and more because I think that the more video games you have, the happier you can be because you can play whatever you want whenever you want. So I very much have that mentality. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is regarding the new Switch 2 release. Now, I'll try not to pause it too often, but there's probably going to be some times that I'm going to pause it just so I can make some hopefully valid points. So, this first one is going over why the Switch 2 won't flop. Now, in the opening lines, well, I'll let you just see it. Now, this is John Ebo, and John Ebo, that's how you say it. And he does a lot of, very Nintendo, very pro Nintendo type videos. And I'm okay with that for the most part, except right now, Nintendo is in a lot of people's shit books just because of, the increase in game prices and a couple other things. Their general attitude towards repairing your own system and, just saying, you do this and we'll brick your system, which trying to basically double down on what Ubisoft said, where basically you don't own your system, just a right to play on it. If I literally go out there and give you $700 for the physical piece of hardware, that fucking hardware is mine. Mine. It doesn't belong to you as the company. It belongs to me. Okay? The software on it, if I don't like that, I'm the guy that really doesn't intend on modding stuff. Okay? I don't want to mod things. That's just not how I do. Even my Legion Go has, I've done some emulation on it. Played some games on it that way, but most of the time it's been a game I do actually physically own. I just don't want to break out the system so that I can put more time on it and potentially crater it. I can save my systems by having emulation copies of each game. So then I am breaking on one thing that is relatively new and easy to get parts for and still in production, as opposed to something that is not being made anymore. So, obviously, Switch 2 came out on June 5th, and it actually, even today, I walked past one. So Nintendo learned their lesson from last time in terms of scalping. So people saying, these are usually the people with a bias, right? They're saying, oh, it's going to flop, and they're so biased towards their own system and stuff. So like I said, this guy is pro, and he's saying it's not going to flop, but it's what he compares it to that kind of annoyed me. So anyways, I'm going to play the video, and then I will pause it to make my points. Hopefully it is not too loud. Let's actually turn it down.
I think the people that are saying the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to flop are not considering one very crucial piece of information.
I don't know anybody who's saying it's going to flop. I legit don't know anybody saying that.
The Nintendo Switch 2 is handheld, and it has no competition.
This is where he is wildly incorrect. Wildly incorrect.
Nope. Steam Deck and the other handheld PCs are not competition.
Yes, they are, because they are actually capable of playing, and it is through emulation, don't get me wrong, but they are capable of playing Switch games better than the Switch does. And if you look at the performance of the Switch 2, apparently it's pretty decent. I don't have one for review yet. It is putting it closer to those guys. You see an Xbox Series X in the background here, kind of. That's what it is. This comment bothered me, because yes, Anyways.
They're not. No, you're wrong. They're not meant for a mass audience.
Yes, they are. PC is becoming the most widespread way to play video games ever. It has become more accessible over the years. It may have the larger price tag of the big four of what you can play on, but it is becoming becoming way more common.
Like, they're a niche product.
No, they're not.
Can't go into a Target and just buy a Steam Deck.
No, but you can go into a Walmart and buy an ROG Ally, MSI Claw, or even Best Buy, which will have those two, and the Lenovo Legion Go, which they just released a new Ally, and a new Legion. Now, portable gaming PCs are not actually that new. These are just the ones that were made by actual main producers of computer hardware like Lenovo and Asus and MSI. Those three guys have been making computer stuff for a really long time, but they finally jumped into the race with the Steam Deck leading the damn charge. I've reviewed several of these things on my channel too, and even did a more recent comparison with the Lenovo Legion Go and the Switch OLED, Steam Deck OLED, and what was the last one? The ROG Ally. I had all of them at one point and did a review of all of them.
Like, you can buy a Nintendo Switch. A lot of people that have a Nintendo Switch don't even know what a Steam Deck is. Like,
regardless of this fact, ignorance does not mean that the devices that he mentioned that are not competition, apparently, are not competition. They are definitively the competition in the handheld gaming market. Okay? They've got a lot of cloud streaming devices in PlayStation, having the PlayStation Portal. They have all done awesome things. The Portal even has a lot of things that make it stand out as a wicked streaming platform. Now, the Lenovo Legion Go S can use all the traditional PC launchers and do remote play for PlayStation and remote play for Xbox. Nintendo is the only one you can't do that with.
A lot of people are dogging on it because it's not as powerful as a PS5.
Right. We don't necessarily expect it to be. I don't actually know many people that are critiquing its performance. They're actually praising it because it is now what we probably expected from something. And I've seen the specs of the processor for the graphics. They are about 400 gigahertz, I believe, more than the Xbox more than the PlayStation, and over 500 more than the Xbox. I think it was the Xbox One S. So, yeah.
But, yeah, it's a handheld console. It's not a dedicated home console. Like, a handheld console that's as powerful as a PS4 Pro.
A PS4 Pro is going on 8 years old. Pretty sure. I got my PS4 Pro when Spider-Man, I think it was 2018 or 2019, I don't remember, but I know that it was 2018, at least, was released. That's when I got my PS4 Pro, the red one, right there, and I played it and did an unboxing for it when it first came out. It was one of the first videos I ever really did. I don't even remember if I posted it, I just know that I filmed it. We're going to praise a console, let me understand this, that released in 2025, that has specs better than a console from 2018. I sure the fuck hope it can be better than that. Really?
Oh, is incredible. And that's going to cause a lot of people to buy it. Nintendo owns the handheld space.
No, they don't. Not anymore. Not since the Steam Deck, Ally, Legion Go, and MSI Claw. You cannot ignore the fact that these things exist because you like Nintendo. You can't ignore them. It's flawed.
What don't you people understand? There's no other options.
Sure there are, because if you get emulation set up on a Steam Deck or Legion Go set up properly, you can actually play Switch games better than the console they were made for. It's more than powerful enough. And it comes with like the Legion Go specifically is intensely customizable in terms of how you handle VRAM versus normal RAM. You can actually directly split, because the way that those consoles work is the RAM pool is split between the APU and the normal RAM. So by default, they have settings that are in place on the Legion Go, for example, that will automatically give you most of your RAM as RAM, like normal RAM, like, for doing things. Whereas you can actually customize it to give you more towards video than you do as gaming. Or sorry, as you do as like productivity and such. So it's really cool that you can even switch those things around, right? Okay.
It's going to sell just because of that.
But it's unfortunate that he went on that rant to say that it's going to sell, but it's like, we know it's going to sell. Nintendo sells. It does. That's one of the problems they've never had, even in their gimmicky systems. They don't really have any major failures. Like, the Wii U is the closest thing to a failure they ever had. And it honestly wasn't even that bad. Like, graphically, it was a great system. It adopted features, though, that had been around for 10 years at the time. Like HDMI and stuff. Like, we were seeing HDMI everywhere, and the Wii came out with, a composite cable. And I was like, what is this shit? So then the Wii U comes out. Oh, finally, it's got HD. Great. So do all the other systems. They're a little ahead of you. But everybody will buy a Nintendo because there are games that you will not be able to play anywhere. They're not going to... It's the one console you will buy for exclusivity. Right? You're not going to buy an Xbox or a PlayStation for exclusivity anymore because they are, they're passing games back and forth. But the Switch, predominantly its lineup is remakes. Ports. Nothing new. They got Mario Kart World, and I don't even know if the Donkey Kong game is out yet. I think it came out with it too. But 2 brand new games out of the entire lineup, and the rest of them are just ports. One of them a game that's 5 years old, and I would hope that they have figured out how to make it work, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm excited to get one too. Eventually I'm going to buy one, and we'll do an unboxing and a review. But you can't sit there and give total praise to a system and then pretend the other systems that do directly compete and supersede it don't exist. Like, my Legion Go is just such an awesome every system. Like, especially when you get the emulation, like, teed up on it perfectly. Like, oh my god. That system is functional. Sorry, I'm a little tired right now. I was working on my truck earlier, so it kind of messed me up. So that's the first video. We're going to watch one more. This one was a factual issue, and it pissed me off because while they pointed out some things that are true, they left out one very, very important thing. I'll dive a little more into this one. I'll dive right into this one. Again, nothing against these creators, but I do disagree with their viewpoints to an extent. This one, as much as cool as he is, he got his little neon sign and stuff in the back. I think that's actually really cool, a really cool looking sign. Looks like the Terrifier font. Actually, it's probably intentional.
We never got a sequel to Goldeneye 007 for...
Yes, we did.
For the Nintendo 64? Well, the answer is sort of interesting and sort of complicated. And it all starts with the development studio, Rare. Rare, throughout the 80s and 90s, developed tons of Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo 64 games. Well, in the mid-90s, MGM hired Nintendo to develop a video game for Goldeneye, and Nintendo chose Rare to develop that game.
So we do know that, and that is easily one of the best shooters that's ever been made. Even to this day, it still holds up in terms of actually being fun. And the multiplayer was top-notch for its time. I have a very soft spot in my heart for that specific game because it came with my first N64 that was bought for my birthday, and I was just crazy excited 6-year-old. Crazy excited.
That's when we got this. And as we all know, this was a massive success. So Rare started developing a sequel. Just one problem. MGM had different plans. They sold off the video game rights to the 007 franchise to Activision.
So this is where I do get annoyed. This is where the factual errors start. They did not sell it to Activision next. The next people they sold their rights to was EA. So, you can't see it because it's in a different part of the room. I own a copy of The World Is Not Enough and Tomorrow Never Dies. Those were the next James Bond movies that got game tie-ins. Those games were made by EA. EA had the rights directly after Rare did.
Vision. What did that mean for the Goldeneye sequel that Rare was working on? It became a game called Perfect Dark,
which is equally just as good as Goldeneye, if not better.
And Activision was left to take a stab at a 007 game, which wasn't very good.
Actually, they did not... Okay, I'll let them finish.
All the while, Rare continued to make awesome games, like Conker's Bad Fur Day, until the year 2002, when Microsoft swooped in and purchased Rare. That's right, Rare actually wasn't owned by Nintendo, and they sold everything to Microsoft and started making Xbox games. Their very first, grabbed by the Ghoulies. Now, at this point, a lot of developers left Rare and started a new studio called Free Radical. Free Radical would develop what would be the spiritual successor to Perfect Dark with the Time Splitters series.
I'd like to point out, and most people who have played Time Splitters do know that it actually plays more like, Unreal Tournament or Quake or just those kinds of games, those arena shooters. I really don't think that it was meant as a spiritual successor to Perfect Dark at all. You'll also notice that it says EA on it. God damn it. Another EA title. Funny how that works. All the Rare content seems to go to EA. That's funny to me. I don't even know if they had anything to do with the first Time Splitters.
But Rare proper would continue making games for Xbox with stuff like Viva Pinata and even a sequel to Perfect Dark. But the question is, why don't we get a remake or a remaster of
We did!
007 Goldeneye. That's where it gets a little bit messy. You see, when Microsoft bought Rare, a lot of things came with that purchase. One of those things is the engine that these two games were built on. But Nintendo published Goldeneye, so Nintendo actually owns the rights to this game. But MGM actually owns the James Bond rights. Actually, now that I think about it, Amazon came along just a few years ago and bought the distribution rights to James Bond. So let's make that 4 different parties in the hat. So what happens when you try and remake 007 Goldeneye without this game engine? Well, you can ask Activision, because they tried to do it back in...
Now, I want to point out something about the one that Activision made. They didn't make it with the intent of it being a direct clone of, like, the original game, right? I want to be clear on that. What they made it to be like was a Call of Duty game. It actually, the multiplayer has the same scoring font if you get a kill. So, it was meant to be it was a COD game set in the GoldenEye universe, in the 007 universe, but they replaced James Bond's actor, Pierce Brosnan, with Daniel Craig for that particular instance of it. And that was called 007 GoldenEye Reloaded, and it was not intended to be the same game.
In 2010, and it wasn't good. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it can't happen. In fact, Nintendo...
I want to point out also that it wasn't bad either. It was just not what people were expecting, seeing that name on the box again.
Nintendo and Xbox have come to terms recently because GoldenEye has appeared on both the Nintendo Virtual Console and Xbox Live Marketplace.
Now, fun fact, there is a version, and I've played it, and I played it for you guys, called... it was the Xbox Live Arcade version of GoldenEye, and it was they remastered the original game. It was an HD, almost an HD remake, where it was basically the same game, just way, way prettier. I played it for you guys. It's on my YouTube.
All the while, Rare continues to develop games for the Xbox. You may know them from Sea of Thieves. And this tangled web of fuckery is why we will probably never get a proper GoldenEye 007 remake by Rare. So if you...
Okay, so That was my problem with that. Now, I'm going to go into what the major factual error is. Trying to say that Activision, that's the biggest part of this, is that Activision had the rights to that next. No, they were the publisher that had it after EA. So EA took over the distribution rights of the development rights of these games, and they ended up making a whole bunch of titles in the PlayStation 2 era. So, and the GameCube, and they were on pretty much all the main platforms, except for a few of them didn't make it to classic Xbox. One of them did. But they made Nightfire, Agent Under Fire, Goldeneye, Rogue Agent, which is the actual that is an actual sequel. Even had Pierce Brosnan in it. You play as his protege or something like that. I don't remember the exact things behind it, but that was an actual sequel to Goldeneye. It had the name and everything. So Goldeneye 2 actually became Goldeneye Rogue Agent. Just, if anybody forgot that it existed, it was one of the best shooters of its time. It was actually, because you got to be a badass. You were a bad guy. You weren't a good guy. So, we got Agent Under Fire, Nightfire, From Russia with Love, which is, that was featuring the Sean Connery version of James Bond. GoldenEye Rogue Agent, Everything or Nothing. That is the one that ended up on classic Xbox. And then there was, of course, the PS1/N64 era, which was Tomorrow Never Dies on PS1, and then The World Is Not Enough showing up on both N64 and PlayStation. So, yeah, we did get a sequel. It just wasn't developed by Rare. So, again, nothing against either of these creators, but, I mean, don't ignore things that are inconvenient to your point. Because someone like me or someone else may just come along and unmake that point, right? So, don't get me wrong. I think these guys are both really cool because they're both repping their favorite systems and stuff, and even giving us a little bit of background on what's going on with the rights to GoldenEye, because there is a lot to unpack there. But you can't pretend that the EA era of video games did not happen. Activision became responsible for they actually did Quantum of Solace's game, which was pretty good actually. The Wii version of it is awesome. And then another one called Bloodstone, and then they did 007. I think they were responsible for 007 Legends, which is a compilation game of different 007 scenarios, remaking some of the most famous video game parts, but also creating some new content for the series. Based out of all the movies, of course. They are based out of parts from each movie. But, I mean, a lot of people didn't like Tomorrow Never Dies. I really didn't mind it because I was just James Bond, frick yeah! I didn't like that it wasn't first person. Then we got, what's it called? Then we got The World Is Not Enough, and I loved that one. I thought that was great, and I love the multiplayer for it. You could add bots and everything. So, I mean, yeah, it was different from what we were expecting, but it was still good. I half agree with what he said about GoldenEye Reloaded. Half. I don't hate GoldenEye Reloaded, but I don't think it was their best effort. And again, maybe I was one of the people that was a little disappointed with that it was basically just COD. It was a COD game. Don't get me wrong. I like COD, but could have been better. So anyways, that's the video, guys. So thanks for checking it out. Appreciate you listening to my rant here. And again, no hate for these creators. Don't go and harass them or anything like that. I am not doing this as some way to start some beef with them, but both of them made some points that are just well, one is a factual error and the other one's just straight up incorrect. You can't skip incorrect or inconvenient facts. It's not going to make your point. So, thanks for checking it out, guys. I'm Pidera. You can find me over on Twitch, Pidera_74. Here on YouTube, Pidera_74. That's the difference. And you can definitely support the channel in a bunch of different ways. Of course, there's liking, following, subscribing. Do all those things. We love that. But in addition to that, you can also take out some of these other things that we have. So we have our eBay page, which is ebay.ca/svretrotech. and that is where you can buy like gaming collectibles, retro games, and old school stuff. Lots of cool things going on there. If you use, I was gonna say, I almost mixed this up with our other sponsor, but our other partnership is W.GG. They make energy drinks, and you can also go there to get other kinds of cool things like tumblers, hats, sweaters. You can also, when you get the energy drinks, you can choose between a massive variety of flavors. So I definitely recommend checking them out. And if you use creator code Pidera74 without any spaces, you will get a discount. And I get a cut of the order, so we both win. Lastly, of course, is the most direct way, and that is the tipping link in our bio on YouTube. So you can definitely, if you make a donation, I'll make sure that you get a shout out. Of course, saying, you rock, because, I mean, every little bit helps. But then also give you a shout out and, a say in some future content. So thanks for checking it out, guys. Thanks for tolerating my rant. I've been meaning to chop these up a little bit and go on some rants of my own. But thanks for checking it out, guys, and I'll catch you guys next time.